Tonight, University of Toronto students call for more mental health supports as the province pledges millions of dollars for mental health initiatives in high schools.
For too many students, our university is a harsh environment, and too many find it impossible to thrive.
Advocates say hundreds of millions is needed per year to address what they're calling a crisis. Plus, a four-vehicle crash on the QEW leaves a motorcyclist dead and all westbound lanes shut down for hours. And
the success of this restaurant has become a reflection of how welcoming we are as a society.
It was thought to be closed for good, but Sufi's restaurant will officially reopen tomorrow after shutting down just days ago because of death threats. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. On World Mental Health Day, the province says it's taking new steps to support young people's mental well-being. It announced a new investment today for high schools and nonprofit organizations. But university students say more needs to be done to help them, too. Laura McQuillan reports.
For these University of Toronto students, tonight is about healing and hope. They're marking World Mental Health Day by sharing stories about their own experiences. Third-year student Louisa Aquino organised the event. She says she wants to start a conversation about mental well-being and about university culture.
When you're able to have a support system around you, whether it's students or administrators, it really helps and goes a long way.
Tonight's event was organised after a student died on campus last month, and now the university's student union is backing calls for more investment in the city's mental health services.
This is something that we are all committed to.
Advocates say $300 million is needed each year. It's a pitch they're making to federal parties.
For too many students, our university is a harsh environment, and too many find it impossible to thrive. We need more services and supports. We need this investment.
The provincial government says it agrees that young people need more support.
We want to let students living with mental health challenges know that they are not alone. And for these young people to know that we're committed to supporting them and their families.
Minister of Education Stephen Lecce today announced $40 million for mental health initiatives in high schools and non-profit organisations. The bulk of it will go toward permanently hiring 180 mental health workers taken on by school boards in the past year, as well as wellbeing and mental health programs and bullying prevention. Aquino says that's a positive step, but she's worried about post-secondary students falling through the cracks.
Young people are going to go from having these amazing resources in high school to being left in a burning house, basically, with blindfolds on because they have no idea how to deal with mental health when it comes to university, and they're so used to having those resources.
She hopes events like tonight's will create a space where students can find that help. Laura McQuillan, CBC News, Toronto.
A powerful anti-bullying message is being shared this week as police continue their investigation into Monday's killing of 14-year-old Devin Bracchi-Selvi. Hundreds showed their support at a vigil last night in Hamilton. Some are wondering if the teen was failed by the system. As Lorenda Redekop reports, questions about bullying in schools were put to the Education Minister today.
Tears, grief, and a call for action. His mother says Devin Bracchi-Selvi was bullied since the second day of school.
For a month we've been trying to get this dealt with. They suspended the one kid, and then he was not supposed to be on school property, and then he showed up Monday on the school property.
That afternoon, Devin was stabbed to death in front of his mother. She says she arrived to rescue him from bullies.
When a 14-year-old dies at school, there's a failure somewhere in the system. Ultimately, somebody needs to be held to account on this.
This expert in anti-bullying says more action is needed. Police continue to investigate. A 14-year-old and 18-year-old are both charged with first-degree murder. The school board promises its own investigation.
It can't just be the school policing itself. We need somebody to come in and do a really comprehensive look at this and then come up with some solutions that everybody can learn from.
So far, the Education Minister would not commit to the province getting involved.
I will review the investigation's findings and contemplate action at that point once I've seen the report.
But he did say this.
We agree that there needs to be accountability when systems are not being met and processes are not being followed.
Devin's mother is frustrated at what now feel like empty words from the school.
Zero tolerance and zero bullying and everyone belongs, and it's not true. And no one's held accountable for it. It keeps happening.
And this reminder for parents of kids who may be the bullies themselves.
Listen to what the teachers and principal are saying about your child. Kids don't just start by knifing somebody in the schoolyard.
A hope that this tragedy will bring change. Lorenda Radicop, CBC News, Toronto.
A man is dead after a collision involving 4 vehicles on the QEW in Burlington tonight. All westbound lanes of the QEW near Appleby Road are still closed this hour and aren't expected to reopen until around midnight. The crash happened just after 6 o'clock involving a motorcycle, a transport truck, and 2 passenger vehicles. The motorcyclist was found without vital signs at the scene and was transported to hospital where he later died. There were no other injuries reported. And a woman is recovering in hospital tonight after she was stabbed in Scarborough this morning. It happened near Lawrence and Midland around 11:30. Police say they found the woman suffering from stab wounds. She was rushed to hospital with critical injuries, but her condition has since improved. Police say the victim and suspect know each other, but so far no arrests have been made. A small Toronto restaurant has been making international headlines over the last few days. The owners of Sufi, a Syrian restaurant, closed their doors this week after receiving death threats and hate messages. But after an outpour of support and an offer of help, there's been a change of heart. Farah Morali has the latest twist in this story tonight.
Until yesterday, it was thought that no one would walk through the doors of this small Queen West restaurant ever again. That changed today.
Mr. Faqih extended his support to us and kindly offered to keep Sufi's door open under his management until our family feels healthy and safe again.
Sufi's restaurant will reopen tomorrow with the help of Paramount Fine Foods CEO Mohammed Faqih. While the Sufi family deals with the death threats against them, Faqih will bring in a team to run the restaurant.
The Sufi will retain the ownership of this restaurant. They will receive all the profit. I really do not want anything from this other than making sure that this restaurant is open. The success of this restaurant has become a reflection of how welcoming we are as a society.
The threats against the restaurant stemmed from Al Sufi's son participating in a protest at a Maxime Bernier rally in Hamilton last month. This clip of protesters yelling aggressively at an elderly couple went viral. Alaa Al Sufi, the restaurant owner's son, was identified as one of the protesters. That's when the threats started, some against the family's lives. So earlier this week, the restaurant announced it was closing permanently.
The aftermath and public reaction to our decision was beyond what we imagined. We received hundreds of heartfelt messages from people all over Canada, offering their support and solidarity.
It's that support that Al Sufi says prompted him to reconsider the closure. But he said today he still fears for the safety of his family.
Restore their confidence and come back to run their business.
Excuse me, sir?
As we tried to interview Mohammed Faqih, a heckler standing outside the restaurant yelling anti-immigrant slogans interrupted us.
We don't want to have people coming over here behaving like these people. Behave like Canadians when you arrive.
His comments prompted strangers to step in.
It's deplorable, and it needs to be stamped out. This hate is terrible. These people shouldn't feel in danger to run their business in Canada. It's so un-Canadian.
Despite the messages of hate, Al Sufi said today he doesn't want to see anyone charged for the threats against his family.
No, I don't want. I ask for their forgiveness, and definitely I forgive everyone. So we need to just promote love. We don't want to emphasize hate.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now for a first look at our forecast, and we've been on a bit of a lucky streak this week, I think.
Yeah, that's certainly one way you can put it, Talia. Lucky streak it is. It's going to come to an end. We know it has to, but hey, it's not done with us yet. And so we've still got a nice night tonight and tomorrow, and then it all starts to change. But today, what a day. Yeah, a look at the daytime highs. All these teens, and of course, can't help but notice Windsor, 22 degrees. You're going to repeat that as we go into tomorrow. But the clouds starting to pull in as well, and showers will develop in southwestern Ontario, maybe some isolated ones as early as the afternoon tomorrow. However, for the GTA, it's sunshine, some clouds coming in late day, and this isn't going to really have an impact in terms of the showers moving through till early Saturday morning, and then it should make haste moving out by Saturday afternoon so that things improve. So it's going to have an impact on the long weekend. It's not going to ruin it, all right? 8 degrees, the overnight low tonight, and tomorrow afternoon with that sunshine, 17, Talia.
Wow, well, another lucky day for us. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Parents across Ontario organized a walk-in this morning at more than 700 schools. They're urging the provincial government to reverse cuts to education.
The most important job that we have in our whole society is that of teacher, and we don't want to lose any teachers, because that's how the future happens.
We've seen the provincial government from its first days in office take money out of our system. $1.4 billion was removed last spring. So we're calling for a reversal to those cuts and a strengthening of our system.
The government says the cuts would save the province $2.8 billion over 5 years. But the province's Financial Accountability Office says public schools would lose around 10,000 teachers over the same period, and class sizes would go up. The walk-in comes after the Canadian Union of Public Employees reached a last-minute deal Sunday night, avoiding a strike. The province is now kicking in an extra $100 million a year for new funding to support staff jobs and a wage increase for more than 50,000 education workers around Ontario.
I'm really proud of the education workers that stood up for our schools, and I think it's rallies like this that let them know that families have their back is going to be so important as teachers head back to the bargaining table.
Elementary and high school teachers have yet to negotiate new deals. Their contracts expired at the beginning of the school year. They'll head back to the bargaining table with votes being held throughout the month.
So far, we haven't seen any meaningful steps to reduce carbon pollution and fight climate change in Ontario.
A new report says the provincial government has made little progress in cutting greenhouse gas emissions, and a major drop in electric vehicle sales are part of the problem. That story coming up. Welcome back. Our Dwight Drummond hosted an election town hall tonight, focusing on why young people have the power in this election. It was held at the Mars Discovery District on College Street. You can catch a full recap on our social media channels and tomorrow on our 6 o'clock newscast, but here's a snippet of the discussion.
We want to tackle climate change in a multitude of ways. You specifically asked about Indigenous rights and voices being a part of the conversation. Don't worry, we got that covered. We want to abolish the Indian Act, and we also want to renegotiate with every nation.
I think that it's unrealistic to say that we have this climate crisis, but we're not going to make any sacrifices for it, right? To say that the average person has to brunt no sacrifice to save us from a climate crisis, I think is unrealistic in the first place.
Now, climate change was a big topic throughout that town hall, and tonight, environmentalists are calling out the province for not living up to its promises to combat climate change. Last year, Doug Ford's government pledged to cut carbon emissions significantly by the year 2030, but an environmental watchdog group says we are way off track. Ali Chiasson reports.
It's a plan that represents a clean break from the status quo.
That's former Environment Minister Rod Phillips in 2018, announcing the province's plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2030.
It's a plan that balances a healthy environment and a healthy economy.
And this is... I'm Sarah Buchanan. I'm the Clean Economy Program Manager here at Environmental Defence.
A watchdog group that says Ontario is way off track to meeting its targets.
So far, we haven't seen any meaningful steps to reduce carbon pollution and fight climate change in Ontario.
Buchanan points out one glaring contradiction in the government's plan.
I'm really surprised that they are relying so heavily on electric vehicle uptake.
Considering how the PCs got rid of the province's incentive program last year. And it shows. According to the latest numbers, electric vehicle sales are up in all provinces and territories by 93% in Quebec, 99% in Alberta, 174% in BC compared to the first quarter last year. But in Ontario, electric vehicle sales are actually down by 59%.
Is Ontario the only province where we've seen sales plummet?
That's true.
Under the previous government, drivers were eligible to get from $5,000 to $14,000 to buy a new environmentally friendly vehicle. But the program was scrapped, along with cap and trade.
The transportation sector accounts for a significant portion of our greenhouse gases, and in the case of electric vehicles, we have a technology that is readily available, that is popular, and that is in many cases higher performing than the gas equivalent. Consumers want it, so it represents, in my view, low-hanging fruit for any government that's really serious about fighting climate change.
The Environment Minister's office says provincial government subsidies for electric vehicles aren't needed and say they are on track for emissions targets by 2030. But according to Environmental Defence, that's not soon enough.
We don't have time to sit and think and delay and cancel. We only have time to take action.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
As Brampton's population grows, the city is also facing a shortage of affordable housing. This is resulting in a growing number of people experiencing homelessness in that area. As Kelda Yoon shows us, one city councillor is trying to tackle the issue.
In Brampton's Garden Square, this has become a familiar scene.
There's a lot of homeless people.
Letitia Lead owns a beauty salon nearby. She says she's seen a huge spike in the amount of people living on the street over the past year.
It's not safe. I work here until night and then I have to go home and I'm scared because you don't know who's following you.
Others say it's hurting the area's reputation.
Kind of sucks, you know, you're trying to build a business, doesn't provide for a welcoming environment for outsiders to come into downtown Brampton.
Their concerns are being heard. Councillor Martin Medeiros says he's heard from residents who don't feel safe downtown. He's calling on Peel Region staff to address the problem.
How can we increase and have more of a police presence? But also there's the social aspect. Is how do we ensure, because we know those folks who are what we call, be it homeless or people facing addictions, they need those social services and they need those type of support.
And how many turkeys are you cooking?
40.
40.
Ted Brown is the executive director of the Regeneration Drop-In Center, one of 2 places downtown that offer support to the homeless population. He says while those numbers have gone up,
Serious crimes are definitely down in this area.
and that's backed up by police statistics showing serious crime in downtown Brampton is down compared to last year. Brown says the big problem actually is
A lack of affordable housing. We have a 0% vacancy rate here in the city for bachelor-style apartments.
just down the street. Kemi King can attest to that.
I had to move out last month and I can't find a place.
Even though
I can afford it. I've got cash in my pocket.
I'm concerned for the businesses, but I still care about the people on the street. They need the help.
Peel Region staff are expected to present council with some solutions by mid-November. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Brampton.
Cleaning up the waterfront one bit at a time. Coming up, we'll show you how a group from the University of Toronto and Ports Toronto are teaming up to keep our waterfront trash-free.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Colette's back now with our extended forecast. And you mentioned that the streak wouldn't last. I'm sure people are thinking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we are thinking about Thanksgiving and how our weather pattern is going to change and impact your plans for the weekend. Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll just start with the fact that overnight tonight we carry on with some nice conditions. Temperatures a tiny bit above seasonal, in fact. Another lovely day tomorrow. Later in the day is when the clouds will really start to roll in, and then it's going to be in towards Saturday early morning that we're going to see the system moving in and having an impact on the holiday weekend. But much of it is going to be kind of just in that earlier part of Saturday, so the whole day may not be a write-off. I'm going to point off the average high here, 15 degrees this time of year, low around 5 degrees, but I'm also going to point out another day. You saw this yesterday from 1976, and for this date in history, in 1964, there was almost a centimeter of snow. So it's possible this time of year we could be dealing with that, or like they've been dealing with to the west of us, but it's not happening. This has been our friend. This high pressure is moving away, though. It allows this next system to move in, but it's pulling some of the coldest air up to the north of us. So we will see some showers rolling through, again, coming in earlier to southwestern Ontario, and then early Saturday morning, it looks like the timing with this surface. At least that's how it appears at this moment with our models, that it'll be moving through Saturday earlier in the day and then gone by Saturday afternoon, even the clouds rolling out. And then the rest of the afternoon, late afternoon, evening should be fine well into Saturday evening. Things looking pretty good. Sunday, slight chance for some showers, a little extra cloud cover, and we're just going to see temperatures coming down a degree or two. It's really just pushing things kind of back towards seasonal. Overnight tonight, way above seasonal here with your overnight temperatures into Windsor. Should be closer to 7 to 8 degrees for overnight lows. There you go, 22 isolated showers possible in the late afternoon, and then a more significant chance as you go into the evening hours. Overnight for the GTA, the temperatures look like this. So they're running a little on the warm side, especially St. Catharines. Look at that, almost 10 degrees, almost double digits for the overnight low. Gorgeous day tomorrow, especially the early part of the day. A little more cloud cover perhaps later on in the day, but nothing to worry about. It's still with us. It leaves us later. So as we get into Saturday, like I said, those showers, this is what those temperatures look like, by the way. 14, Sunday 15, and Turkey Day, the coolest of the three this weekend. 13 the high, Taya.
Well, still not looking so bad there. Thanks, Colette.
It's not like the whole weekend's ruined or anything. It's just a change, right?
That's not so bad. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Ports Toronto took another step towards tackling the litter in the harbor today. They're partnering with U of T's trash team to install 2 more sea bins.
I can tell you from a contamination standpoint, particularly here in Lake Ontario, we find microplastics in pretty much every organism that we sample. So these bins are effectively removing these plastics from potentially being exposed to the fish.
The city installed 2 bins at the Outer Harbor Marina in July. Each of the bins collected 2 kilograms of litter per day. Things like bottle caps, grocery bags, and cigarette butts. They're designed to collect all kinds of trash, from large debris to microplastics to fuel and oil. The new sea bins will be secured to a floating dock near the York Street Slip. Ports Toronto hopes to eventually extend the project along the entire waterfront. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can get caught up on news anytime. Just head to cbcnews.ca. Good night.